Welcome back to our latest series called E-commerce Agency Wisdom, where we cover different learnings from agencies and people across the industry. Today, we're joined by Mac, who's one of the co-founders of Domain, and we're going to talk about what I wish I knew about delegating sales. I feel like I posted a lot of content on LinkedIn about delegating sales recently. You joined us for the agency retreat in Grand Canary at the end of last year. We talked about mergers and acquisitions, and I think we can all agree that delegating sales is number one, fundamental to selling an agency, I would say. And number two, probably the hardest one to actually offload.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's funny because as a founder, we know you got good at selling projects yourself. You got good at pitching your own agency and being able to talk about what you can build and being passionate about the projects and like just understanding what that means when you're on a call with someone and knowing what the pricing means and how much money you're going to make. Like all of that information is in your brain, so it's really easy to be the one to take that on and to continue to do that. And it can be really painful to start to hand it off. Like over. You mentioned like something I wish I knew, which was figure this out sooner and build a sales team sooner. But not just any sales team and not just like a junior salesperson, people who can come in and hold their own, who are professionally trained, who know the industry, who can follow up with folks, who are good on calls, who have presentable, backgrounds and who can kind of be that face for your company. But know that like it's not going to be good right away. That's where I've had challenges in the past, and I'm sure other agency owners have too. Which is like you hand off a deal to someone that you've hired to do sales, and then you look at what's happening. Maybe you're on some of the calls, or you see some of the emails, or you've watched a Gong recording. And you're like, oh, I could do better than that. And that's a killer because you don't want to lose any revenue because it's so hard to come by these days. A good opportunity, a good piece of revenue in a competitive deal. You really don't want to let that go. And you have to be comfortable with letting some deals go. In the meantime, as someone gets trained, someone becomes as good as you. It's just going to happen. No one's going to be as good as you at the thing that you've built a business around for the last however many years. Which is a hard pill to swallow. Like you're going to lose some revenue because of this, but you're investing in your own future and the future success of your agency by helping this person become trained and giving them real-time feedback and coaching them. And not just that one person, but maybe you want to hire 3, 4, or 5. Now we have 5 salespeople on the team and a sales lead as well. Our strategy is to bring in people who are experienced and who have been around the block and who are classically trained in the sales technique, but who can figure out all the rest, the actual like details of how to sell what we are doing, what our services are. And it's been working, all of a sudden there's this chasm where like you hand off sales to a salesperson and, it's a little bit harder. They're not doing as good a job as you might've done it. And then you go through like this curve where all of a sudden you have salespeople who are trained, who are good, who are professional, and they're doing a better job because they have more time to spend on each deal. Each deal is like a Fabergé egg. They're like making sure it's like it actually closes, and they're giving all the love and attention that it desires. And you as a founder might not have been able to do that. And I see it now on the other end. We just procured a company that we are working with on a service-based contract for a specific service, and it was a founder-led sales cycle, and he was slow. I was like, send me the contract. I already said I want to go. Like, we want to start Tuesday. Send me the contract. He just like wasn't following up quickly. Red lines were taking a little longer. I go, one of my salespeople would have been faster than me in this sales cycle with you, founder. So like sometimes speed is important. Sometimes, people who have time and space and energy and a goal and a target and are motivated financially by a very specific deal, it's going to work out better than you as a founder. And it takes a little bit of time to get there. But when you get there, that's where the real scale starts, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think like the classic expression goes, time kills all deals. I think that's 100% valid because we're all guilty as business owners. Like money is important, but it's not the noisiest thing. Like the deal is never the noisiest thing. There's always noisier stuff that's going on and the inbox that's exploding and your phone kicking off and your LinkedIn and somebody needs help with something. And then you're like, I've got $100,000 sitting here in my inbox, but I just don't have time to deal with a contract because I need focus. And then 2 weeks go by and you're like, oh, by the way, I'm sending that contract over. Oh, no, I found somebody else or I've moved on or like the motivation is gone. So I think that's for sure. I would say as well, when I was hiring my first person, One of the tips that I learned very quickly doing the interview process is if their number one motivation is not money, it's not a salesperson. It's not going to work. Like I know that at the end of the day, this is sales, but I remember I interviewed a couple of people and I was in the interview with her and I said, so what is your goal? And she said, I want a white BMW. That's what I want by the end of this year. And I was like, oh, okay. So you're in this just for the money. Absolutely. I'm in this for the money. Okay. It worked perfectly well because she really went after those deals. One question I have for you, you talked about you got 5 people in the team. Maybe if just what does the structure look like? Like are they SDRs? Are they closers? Like what are the roles?
Yeah, those are 5 direct sellers, quota carrying sellers, sales directors, account executives. And then we have a sales lead, head of new business, who's more like a coach, mentor, manages the target for that team. And then there's some supporting roles as well. I think like that's the other part of when you start building your sales function as an agency, like the thing not to do is just to hire a salesperson and be like, okay, go. Here, I did this before, and now here's the baton. Go for it. You got to build out the support system around them as well, and that might mean like a marketing team. We have a full marketing team that helps generate new business leads and opportunities. We have a partnerships team, people who are generating work from our partners, and referral revenue from our partners. And then we also have an outbound, kind of a very new BDM practice. So outbound sales as well. And we're kind of experimenting with that. It hasn't really been an effective channel for us in the past, but it seems to be gaining some traction lately. So again, so those are the support systems for sales. Actually, those are the sales side support systems. The other side of support is the technical support, and actually that's really the important part for when you're bringing on a new salesperson is kind of who to pair them up with at your company. Again, if not you, to be able to effectively sell deals, which is like, is it a solutions architect? Is it a senior technical lead? Is it like the CTO of your business? Like, and how much time are you allocating to those technical people to be included in these sales processes? And what kind of tooling do they have to be able to make effective scope of works or estimation processes? Do you have a scope worksheet that you're working with in the background, or like making sure that you're building these systems around your sales team to ensure their success? And what about contracting? What's the contract playbook? How do they do red lines? All of these questions you should answer in support of having just a salesperson on the team, because just a salesperson alone, that you're putting too much expectation on them. If you expect them to be their own solutions engineer, legal assistant, salesperson, and company owner, that's not going to work.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest mistake I find when business owners or agency owners are hiring. They think that they're going to be a unicorn like you. They're going to bring in their leads and qualify the leads and get them through the funnel and close them, hand them over. The reality is, if you're a really good closer, you're probably not a great administrator or a setter. And if you're a really good setter, you're probably not the best closer. So it's like figuring out as a business, what do I actually need? If I've got, like the agency we talked about earlier, they've got so many leads coming in. So they hired a closer to help the business owner close. And then most of the agencies are in a situation where leads is the issue. So then it's like a top of the funnel thing. Like, what are your marketing sales efforts and what are you doing with inside sales? Do you have an inside sales team that are pushing more business throughout the company?
Yeah. And it's so right. Like, I like how you're thinking of it differently. A closer versus like someone who's generating the lead. We think of it that way for sure. We have sales, partnerships, and marketing as like a demand gen function, and we have sales as a closing function. Like, that said, our salespeople are expected to source about a third of their pipeline. That's our expectation. I mentioned that in interviews. I'm like, we're going to have these leads coming into our business because of our brand and reputation and partnerships, but 1/3 of what you close, what your quota annually is, you should expect to source yourself. And usually the best way for them to do that is not outbounding. It's more through personal connections and partnerships and networking. But yeah, that's our rule. 1/3 sourced by you, 2/3 sourced by the business, and which means more closing than sourcing.
So one question then is the final question I have: commission. I know some agencies that don't give commission to their salespeople. I think that's bullshit. That's not the way to run a good, insane. I would assume if they have 1/3 sourced by you as a salesperson, 2/3 by the agency, the commission structure on the source by you is slightly higher than the source by the agency, or is it the same?
It's the same. Yeah. Good question. We've tried to do that in the past. It's kind of like if you source something, it's going to be a higher commission. But we found that like, I don't know, that just, it wasn't motivating, driving the
Wasn't
people
making a
in the right way.
difference.
Yeah. It wasn't really making a difference. So it's the same number. What we do is we put an accelerator above their annual quota. Actually, we do it on a quarterly basis. So everyone has a quarterly number. If they go above their quarterly number, they start getting accelerated commission that quarter. So
And it's
ultimately
uncapped.
uncapped, yeah,
Has
and
to
has
be.
this, it has to be same effect, right? Because like it means like if they know they can rely on a certain amount from the company, they need to source more to even hit their accelerator that quarter. So uncapped commissions, accelerated commissions over quota, and we have one number between both source and
Yeah, I've seen
non-source.
a couple of structures. I have one agency that their salesperson is targeted against filling the delivery team. So making sure they need to be 3 months out. I don't really understand that model because once you're 3 months out, I can kind of chill out a little bit. I don't like that personally. I think that it always should be uncapped. Usually it's somewhere between 3 and 5% is the commission number that people are getting paid. It's usually on the higher end, 5, maybe a wee bit more for outbound or deals sourced, and then inbound is usually around the 3 to 5. Another thing as well that I see that works, I just don't understand why they do it. It's some agencies have it for the perpetuity of the brand. You get the commission. For me personally, I think that's garbage. Whatever deal you close for the contract that you close, if you close a specific project that's $100,000 or a 12-month contract, that is the commission that you get for that. And you get it after we've received the payment, then you get paid. And if you then recontract that client and then do inside sales and then get them on a new retainer on a new project, then that's where you get commission. But I know some agencies that it's like, for as long as that client is with us, you get that percentage every single month. And then the salesperson's just like, if I'm earning like an extra 10 grand a month for work I did 3 years ago. And it creates the same problem that you have lazy salespeople.
Yeah. I mean, that would work if you had like salespeople who are also accounts people, and we're also in charge of retention, and being pulled into escalations, and whatnot. But then you're diluting your sales function. Like your salespeople should be focused on closing new business, on spinning your flywheel as a company, not on dealing with like an escalation over like an hour dispute 3 months, 2 years after you close a deal. So I'm against that model for sure because I want my salespeople focusing on what's gaining new logos, the most important thing for our business.